if I get excited.
Okay. So how's LA?
LA was freaking
Okay, maybe not like that.
Find Yourself podcast, take one.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm so excited to have this special person here. If you guys are watching the videos, you guys can see. But hi, welcome back to Finding Yourself podcast. I'm Abby, and I'm with a very special guest today.
Hi guys, it's Daphne.
Yeah, so honestly, she's one of my favorite people because you're like my close friend's influencer, and I'm here for it
I'm a
because
close friends influencer. If you are my close friends, you're influenced.
and just not even like her TikTok, it's just like her close friends because her stories. She's just a story. She's just a storyteller, and honestly, you know, you just have a lot to say.
I have a lot to say. I've learned though that, sometimes you don't have to say everything.
Yeah. So maybe like we shouldn't say much, but just a little disclaimer. I know that many people are probably watching and they're probably like, oh, I'm here for the tea. This is not a tea channel. Trust me, like my channel, I was like, this is not a tea channel. We're not here to spill tea. We're not here to
Call out
anybody. We're not here to talk to anything. But if you guys are seeing the title of this video, we are going to be talking about church hurt. So that is just a very crazy topic.
It is.
Because it is a lot. Like, I don't know, like a lot of people deal with it, but I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it.
It's almost like taboo, right?
It really is. Like I know like I keep referencing this episode that I did, but like breakups were taboo, but also like church hurt is taboo. Like I feel like a lot of people like have left the church. Like I guess like my thing is that I didn't leave on bad terms. Like that's not like, I'm not like talking about that. I'm just talking about things in general.
Right.
Like everything here is kind of general. So like I guess like what is church hurt, but I guess for someone that doesn't really know, like what would you kind of think about it?
So for a really long time, I struggled with understanding church hurt. I saw a lot of people go through it, and I kind of used to like make fun of them in a way and be like, like get over it. Like get over it. You're here for God. You're here for God. Until you personally experience it, you're like, oh, okay. So to me, technically, it really is something that you kind of put expectations on people instead of expectations on God. And once you put expectations on people, people are going to fail you. The Bible says it. We all fall short of the glory of God. And from that expectation you put on someone and they fail you is where church hurt comes from. Mm-hmm. Because now you're like, well, I thought you were like Jesus, but you did this to me. And then now you take it up on Jesus, but it wasn't Jesus that hurt you. Yeah. So that's technically how I see church hurt. I feel like you just have to keep your eyes rooted on God. God is the only one that's not going to hurt you. God's the only one that's not going to fail you. He's the only one that's going to understand you. And that's just the way I feel about it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I think it's a journey because like even personally myself, like, after everything, I've dealt with like some repercussions of like healing, per se, because like I've lived in California maybe for like 2 months now, and in those 2 months it's just been healing, like not just like with church stuff but in general, and it's kind of like I didn't because the two emotions that I held on to were like my breakup and moving to LA. Like those were the two emotions that I was holding on to. And then when I moved, I realized there was like certain things where I would see like in my other church, like things would be like this. And then I was like, oh wow, like I've never experienced like this. It's different, different. And I didn't realize there was like certain things that I was still hurt from and like different emotions that came out that I was like, oh wow. So like church hurt for me, it's kind of just realizing like things like you've gone through and like how to get over it. And like when you see, because like sometimes you're in a situation for so long that you don't realize like environments and things like that, and then when you move somewhere else or whatever, like you see things differently and you're like like that's brand information. So I guess I would just want to get into it. Like I know that you've been through a situation and we're not gonna like talk details about that because she's like, no, I'm shy. No, I'm okay. You're like, I don't want to get canceled.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching.
But I do want to talk about like how you felt through like every season, if that makes sense. So how did you get over it, or like how, because it's been like what, a year and a half, like
a year. I
like
actually
almost a
just
year.
made a year.
Yeah, that's
Literally the 28th. I made a
wow.
year.
So like obviously like I keep saying, like no details, but how were you like emotionally like dealing with it, like, you know, in the aspect of like, I guess like in the sense of like what happened,
Yeah.
like what were you feeling, and
Yeah,
then like
yeah.
6-month mark and then a year mark, like what are the things you did to help you get over it?
Yeah. So I think I went through every single emotion. Like literally every single one. I remember the day that had happened, walking out and just being really mad. Just really mad because I was like, ugh, I didn't stand up for myself and I should have. And then I just got really sad because then I started thinking like, man, I love people and like I love these people
Yeah.
and they didn't love me back. It's kind of what it felt like. And then I just went through this spiraling thing. Like I genuinely went through PTSD.
Really?
Yeah.
In
Like
what sense though?
it would just replay in my head over and
The situation.
over. The whole conversation.
Oh.
It would just replay in my head, and I would stay up till like 4 a.m. just sobbing because this would replay in my head, and like the words they spoke over me would just replay. So the point where I would believe it, like I sat there and I was like, well, Daph, like you are the problem, and you know sometimes you are the problem, and that's okay, but it was just really toxic for me to speak over myself like that because I really genuinely started to believe it. I kind of lost myself and I kind of started to feel like I had been robbed. Like I was like, okay, they took my calling with them. They took my purpose with them. They took my gifts with them. And the devil's such a liar. Like he gets you in such a vulnerable state
Yeah.
that in that moment, I really was like, I have nothing. I have nothing. I have no one. Like that's it. I'm nobody. And
how's that, like realizing that, because I know like when I moved to California, I'm not like this big fancy producer, I'm not like this person,
Our church boss.
like, church boss, whatever, I'm just Abby, and it's like I don't have this big team, I don't have like all these stuff, and I moved to California and it kind of slapped me being like, who am I? You know, I went through that identity crisis of like, how am I going to find myself again?
Yeah.
And then God was speaking to me and he's like, your dream 4 years ago, before you started working here, is now going to come to pass. So focus on that. And I was like, okay. So like that happened for me. But what about you?
For me, I kind of had to have a reality check. And this was fast forward like to maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Because in those like few months, you were just like crying,
just
and,
crying,
like,
sobbing. And
kind of dealing with emotions, right?
Yeah, which let me add, when you are hurt in that situation, you need to be very careful who you vent to about that hurt. Because you're going to hear what you want to hear in your hurt. And it's going to make you worse.
Like, it depends who you talk to, because there's some people that are going to be like, oh, poor you.
Yeah, poor you. They did do you dirty.
Yeah,
and,
they suck. And then, and then other people being like,
but sweetie, but be for real with yourself.
Are you the problem?
Are you?
I'm the problem.
I mean, girly.
Are you the problem?
Are you the problem? And one of my favorite things, my best friend Veronica, she literally was my rock in this. Like she was like, dude, snap out of it. Like you know who you are, you know what you carry. Get out of it. Get out of it. And I love her so much.
And you need those real people to just be like very real with you.
And I love her so much because even though she checked me, she still loved on me.
Of course.
And she was so patient with me. And I love that because I think that you can't rush people through their process. Like you can't rush healing yourself. It takes time. So I took the decision to step back and I was like, I need to go back to being Daphne. Like I was so caught up in rooted identity that I was this person that serves all the time. And to the point where I think you've even heard me say it, that I'm like, oh, serving keeps me.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be what keeps me. My relationship with God should be what keeps me.
Yeah.
So the fact that, you know, you get set down and you can't serve, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm nobody. And that was like a big reality check for me because even without serving, I am somebody.
Because
I love
like
serving.
Because it was like, what was your God? Like, was serving your God, or like, is God your God?
So I kind of had to check myself and I was like, okay, so was I in church because I truly love God, or was I in church because I wanted to be seen? So I had a really big reality check with myself. And I had to be like, God, I'm sorry, you know, and truly repent because my heart shifted from my relationship to God, with God, to serving his people. And although that's a great thing, it's not the main thing.
Yeah.
So that's where my identity crisis came from. Like, I was like, okay, now I'm not serving. Like, who the hell am I?
And in those moments, like, I know that you mentioned to me in private that you like went to the presence of God, but what is it that, like, finding your identity again, what were the things that you had to do?
Well, I never stopped going to House of Peace.
We love hop.
We love hop.
love House
I
of
am a
Peace.
hop advocate. I never stopped going to House of Peace, and I actually went to Veronica's House of Peace and her husband Marlon's. They were the only people who actually left their doors open for me. They're my mentors for like 6 years, and literally when everything was going down, they were like, come home, like just come home. And it was the most beautiful experience ever, because it was probably the most painful thing I've gone through. And I've gone through some tough breakups, but it was probably the most painful thing I've gone through. And looking back now, I would go through it again.
Wow.
I would, because it really matured me. It made me look back and be like, okay, I'm the problem, but people are also the problem. And I wanted it to be such a beautiful healing process that I was like, okay, I'm going to become who I need. I'm going to become who God has called me to be. And it's the person who makes sure this doesn't ever happen again.
Yeah.
Like, and that was just my goal. And going to hop and going back to my relationship with God, and, you know, having my old mentors pray for me and truly minister to me and heal me, and man, even just hug me.
Yeah.
And just remind me that no matter what, God was there. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what helped me a lot. Like, just having a really good support system, but a support system that still called me out of my crap, you know?
Like a good community.
Yeah. She was still like, yeah, get over it. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. We keep going. And she was like, this isn't, I give up. No more God. And she was like, no, we keep moving.
Yeah, because it's hard, because sometimes when you get low, like your lowest point, all you want to do is give up.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I was going through my tough season, that, like, you know, breakup, like I want to give up. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this, but I just kept doing it. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, no, like, you're here for God, not for man, you know? And I think when you realize that, you're like, man, I'm really here for God. And I think that's beautiful that you've had like leadership and you had people really comfort you.
Yeah.
You know, was that hard? Like, because you said it was only like a few people.
It was really hard. I
did you feel isolated?
I felt really isolated. I felt like all my dirty laundry had been like just thrown out.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt a little, I guess the word I'm looking for is like, I felt really betrayed.
Yeah, of course.
Like, just really like backstabbed. And I went through this whole thing where I was like, I had never even experienced pain like this in the world. Why am I experiencing it in church? And I learned that, you know, church is for hurt people. You go to God because you're imperfect, you're hurt, you're broken. And that's kind of where my forgiveness came from, because I was like, oh, you hurt me because you're hurt. I get it. You hurt me because you didn't know. And like, it just came from that, from just, bro, we're people and we're going to hurt each other. Unfortunately, like, we're going to fail each other. And like, that's where my forgiveness came from.
Yeah.
Like, just a big reality check of, dude, they're not God.
Yeah.
Title means nothing, you know. Pastora so-and-so is still so-and-so without the title. Like, she's a person, or he's a person, you know. And I just had to really like put these people off the pedestal I had them on and be like, okay, they're human beings just like me. They went through a process just like me, came from the world just like me. And like, although what they did is not okay, I had a big check of like, maybe they didn't know better. And that's okay, because now I do. And I can be better.
Yeah.
You know?
And how was that like forgiveness process?
Ugh, tough. It was so tough. I didn't want to.
And it's so funny. Like, I literally think of your Instagram bio, you're like healing out loud and like save not soft, that I'm like, so I'm just like, girl.
That's so funny. Because I do the healing out loud because I like to talk about things that nobody likes
No,
to talk
of course.
about. You know
Yeah,
this.
facts.
And then I have saved not soft because I like to believe that God made me who I am for a reason, and my personality is the way that it is for a reason.
Mhm.
And although I had a lot of maturing to do, I didn't lose myself in the process like people told me that I would, or like I
Wow.
had
Yeah.
to. And I didn't. And I love that. I love that I could still be me because this is who God made me to be. And I love that it keeps me real and it still keeps me relatable.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about you, that you're just so real and raw and relatable. I'm doing my makeup and I just have you there. You're like, did you know that? I was like, oh, go off, sis.
You know that I've had to bite my tongue a couple of times. I've stopped. I've definitely have stopped because wisdom, correct. Before I didn't care. I was, and now I'm like, okay. But this goes back to my PTSD.
Yeah.
I've definitely had a really hard time trusting people again.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been back, so it's just a little. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because now I feel like everybody's out to get me. I constantly feel like people have this image that, you know, these people created of me.
Yeah.
And I haven't grasped how am I gonna prove them wrong yet, you know? I don't feel like I owe anybody anything, but I do feel like I owe it to myself to be me and, you know, clean up a mess that I didn't create, but just clean it up in the sense of like, I want to be able to be the leader that God has fully called me to be.
Yeah.
And for that, you know, I need to, you know, put on my big girl pants and take accountability for certain things. And then, you know, just be like, okay, this is what I need to fix and I'm going to fix it. Just know that. But it's definitely been a really hard, like, trusting thing because I don't know. It kind of sucked, you know?
Yeah.
And my biggest thing right now is forgiving. Like, I have gone through my forgiveness, you know, where you go to God and you're like, God, I forgive them. You know, they didn't know. And then the next day, like, a picture pops up and I'm like, ugh.
No, we
No.
Why are they like this?
I'm like, PTSD.
Triggered.
Yeah, literally triggered. And then I have to go back and forgive again. And then I did I did 2 Zozo sessions.
We love Sozo.
We love Zozo sessions. And she was like, hey, babe, you have a long way to go. And I was like, yeah, I know. And those sessions, though, really were what checked me.
Yeah.
Those sessions were definitely where I was like, okay, wait.
For those that don't know about Sozo, can you explain it a little bit?
So Sozo is this program made by Bethel, which basically is a wonderful, beautiful place as a psychology major where they bring anything psychological, emotional, trauma into one with God. And I love that.
Yeah.
Because that is my goal. They talk about mental health, which I feel like in church we don't talk about enough.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting to a little bit more. Like we've been more open about it, but it wasn't as intense as it was before.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. If you could do one little session with them, I highly recommend.
For me, it's the best $100 I've ever spent.
I was like the best.
I did 2 already, and I did one the day after the breakup, and then I did one before California because I had like a lot of cloudiness and legit like every moment. Someone once told me that they were like, it's like a date with God.
Yeah,
like you literally go there, you know, and like we can hear God and we know God, and He's just here. Like it says, "Nowhere where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name," and we're literally talking like this. And she's like, "Where was God in that moment?" And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah,
it's like, what is God doing in this moment? I was like,
just start bawling,
and then
over
like my
Zoom.
eyes,
Mind you guys, this is over Zoom.
Yeah, literally over Zoom, and I'm here crying. I'm like,
and God is there, which is crazy,
and it's so strong. And sometimes, like, I think like we change the mentality of like, of course, like I believe in deliverance. I believe in like the supernatural. Like, I believe like demons, like etc. Like, get that out.
Right.
But there's like such a beautiful thing about inner healing.
Yeah.
Like that inner healing, like the things that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
Like, there was just like
But you
certain
just
things.
like hide all the time.
Yeah, like because we hide things under a rug. Like we literally hide things. Like myself, I just hid like a bunch of things, and I didn't even realize. But like my parents' divorce was still something that triggered me, and it lingered on to something that I was dealing with that I brought up in the sozo, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's
I wish this was the things during my breakup.
yeah. I know, honestly, like it helped me out so much. But honestly, I'm really glad that you did sozo. And then continue.
Yeah. So I did, my sozo sessions and got called out a lot. And I was like, dang.
And they do it so like nicely too.
So she was the most respectful woman I've ever. She was just like, hey, God loves you so much. And I'm there crying in the presence of God. And she was like, but, and I was like, And although it hurt to, be called out and like,
Especially with someone that you don't know.
Yeah, I was like, she was absolutely great. And, she was the first person that was like, hey, like, have repeat after me and say, like, I forgive so and so and so. And literally, I was like, I will close this laptop right now. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to. And she had to remind me, that forgiveness is for you. It's not for anybody else.
Oh, that's good.
It's for you. It's for your own sanity, really. Like, and it's an everyday thing. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. Like, we're just like, oh, well, I forgive them. We move on. And no, it's something that I have had to work on for the past like 6 months, where I'm like constantly forgiving these people, but I'm getting better at it. Like, I'm finally like, I don't feel that much anymore. Like, I'm okay. Like,
wow.
And like to the point, where I like have a set date where I'm like, I'm gonna go back. But it was tough. Like at the beginning, I did try to go back, and like I would pass by and like have like really bad PTSD and like leave. So church is definitely a thing that happens, and I think it happens more times than it should.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We're learning. We're getting better. We're growing.
What have you learned from it? She's like, there's a list.
There's literally a list. But I've learned that the way that God sees me, my value, my purpose does not come from people. That what God says, no man can take away. Like, if God said it, God appointed it, God declared it, it's done. Like, and I've learned that not everybody's for you, and that's okay. I've learned that you don't have to be besties with everybody in the church. You're okay. You go hear your little preaching, pray, have a relationship with God. You could go home. Like, you don't have to sit there and be like friends with everybody. And I think that was like a big thing for me. Like, I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to be friends with everybody. I wanted, and I'm not there anymore. Like, I'm like, okay, what's for me is for me. What's not, it's not. And that's okay. I've also learned to be quiet. I've learned that there is such beauty in your quietness with God. I've learned that there is such beauty in, keeping your mouth closed for certain things and just being like, okay. I've also learned that even though you may not partake in a really bad conversation, if you lend your ear, it's just as bad. So just leave. And yeah, like there's a lot of things I've learned. I've learned how to forgive people for being people. I've learned that we're all just a whole bunch of broken people in one place, and we're all learning, and we're growing together, and it's a whole new generation that we're just learning new things, and we're just trying to grasp it. And our walk with God is the hardest walk, because if it wasn't, everybody would be doing it. And they're not. So that should tell you more than enough that it is a really hard walk, but it's a beautiful one. It's so worth it. And like I said earlier, man, like if what I went through would make me who I am today, I'd go through it again. Like, I'd pick it over and over and over and over again, because I'm in the best place I think I've been as a person, spiritually, and as a friend. I was a really bad friend and had to, be like, dang, I'm surrounded by all these amazing people and I'm not that great. Like, I have an attitude problem, and I have a stank face problem, and had to really check myself. And there were all things that they were being called out, and in the moment, you just hear the bad, and you're like, oh, no way, there's no way that's me, but it is, and that's okay. And I've also learned that it is okay to not be okay.
Yep.
It is okay to still struggle with things. Like, we gotta give ourselves more grace. Like, oh my God, this walk is so hard, and it's also so judgmental. You don't have to be where Fulanita is. Like, oh, Fulanita's only been in church a year and she's already a deacon. Like, it's okay. Your process is yours. Like, take your time, love on God, do what God calls you to do, because man, it's so freaking beautiful. Like, I've really learned to just take my time. Like, I was like, man, I've been in this church for 23 years and like no title. And had to, really be like, yo, it's okay. Because if I look back to who I was when I was 16, 18, man, there's growth there.
Yeah.
And like, I had to really give myself grace.
And
you've
been through a lot.
Oh my God, I've been through a lot.
And the fact that, like, I was just sitting here and listening to you, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you, because I know I knew the you when it happened, and seeing the you now is like a completely changed person. Like, you genuinely look like that Jesus glow, and it's definitely, when you heal different.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, I am very proud of you. I'm very proud of you because I know that it's hard. I know what you went through is hard. I know, at times, like, in the church, it hurts a lot, but I am proud of you in the sense that I'm excited to see, you go back, and I'm excited to, grab those by the handle and be like, you know what? I'm gonna not care. And I think you mentioned something that you're like, oh, like, everybody is watching me, everybody's seeing me. But look, like, my biggest thing is, like, what you truly know who you are. And who you are is a bad just kidding. No, just kidding. I'm like, I was like, who you are is someone that's just like, you're such a beautiful person, and I think that if people don't see that, like you said, they're not for you. But I also think that you shouldn't care, because in the sense of, they're gonna talk bad. People are gonna talk bad. People are gonna talk bad about me. People have talked bad about me, and then whatever. But it's like, I don't care, in the sense of, my friend, she was like, oh, you have this confidence that, like, you can go into the room and, like, not think about, like, anyone's thoughts. And I'm like, yeah, because I know who I am, and you know who you are. Like, I honestly think I want to empower you to be able to be like, no, I can, because at the end of the day, the church is home.
Yep.
And like, you feel like it's your home. Like, even if people are the way that they are, like, I would even say, like, just sit in the back and just be a normal human, like, and then leave after. Like, you don't have to, but as long as you're receiving, and then you'll work your way up, going back to the front, worshiping. You'll work your way up back to serving. You'll work your way up, because God is redeeming you. And, like, I feel like your fruit is going to speak for itself. Like, people are going to see your heart. They're going to be like, oh, wow, like, she has this attitude. And you're like, well, actually, like, I've done healing. And if people said, like, if people are talking about you and they're saying, like, oh, you did this, you did that, you're like, okay, but I've done my part to heal. And I've done my part, and I've seen my change. Yeah. And it's not even, like, about what people think. And that's, like, the people pleasing in us. It's, like, what you think of yourself. Like, who does God, like, the whole finding yourself, like, how does God see you? He sees you as his daughter. He sees you as his princess. He sees you as, like, this person that's, like, full of purpose, and I think that's also why, like, I've always, I don't know, God with me, he's always been like, see people the same, and people are like, well, people hurt you, well, people do this, well, people suck, and da-da-da-da. And God was like, no, see them the same. And I've, like, had this thing where I've, like, always seen people the same. So, like, people come up and they say, oh, this and this. I was like, no, like, okay, I get it, but, like, just a good person. Like, it's not like I'm not gonna say it, but, like, I'm not like you did, like, some terrible thing, I, like, like, you're a human, and
which I totally, like, you to the T, because you, more than anyone, know, like, and a lot of people watching this will know that, like, I cared a lot about image. Like I was always like the girl with the best shoes and the best Sunday outfits and the best makeup.
Your fits.
Yeah. And now I don't care. I barely do my makeup now.
I mean, your makeup still slaps. Like I was like, do you have time to get ready? And you're like,
And I was like, yeah, put on concealer and mascara. Like it's okay.
I was like, wait, what? No
Which
lash?
is crazy. But yeah, because back then I would be like, oh my God, like I need to be camera ready and like I wanted my outside to look so okay that nobody knew my inside was not okay.
Wow.
So you like project this like
Did you feel like you were putting on a mask?
yeah, for sure. 100%. 100%.
That's crazy.
I like look back now and I'm like, dude, I was so good. So freaking good at like
Hiding.
pretending I was good. And
Wow.
before the church hurt, you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't good. I wasn't okay. I was, I think, in the most unstable position that I had been with God in a really long time.
Wow. And do you think like everything was just a spiral effect? It was just
Yeah.
like a,
Yeah, for sure.
and then you had to hit rock bottom in order to get back up?
Yeah.
Because I
for
feel
sure.
like, just like we were saying, I literally see like it just like spiraling, and then you
Yeah.
hit rock bottom, and then you had to like get up,
Yeah,
up,
it
up,
literally
up.
hit rock bottom and like was there for a while because, you know, you let emotions linger.
Of course.
And
get ice
then-
cream and be like, my life sucks.
Yeah,
you
like,
know,
just gain
like,
60 pounds and be
yeah.
like this only happens to me. You become so selfish in
yeah.
that, huh?
Mhm.
You're like, oh my God, only me. And like,
my
no.
problem. I did this.
Yes.
Woe is me.
And like, I wanted to run to social media so bad and like just start slandering people and like,
Did you know that?
receipts.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, like I was gonna at people.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was gonna make it so bad. And I thank God that
No. I would have grabbed you and be
have-
like, no, Daph, don't do
I
it.
have a personal relationship with him where I could hear him audibly. And the one thing God told me, and I remember it made me so mad. He was just like, be quiet.
Wow.
And I was like, huh?
What do you mean?
I was like, excuse me?
The
I was like, did you
audacity.
see what just happened? What they did to me? And God was like, yeah, be quiet. Let me defend you. And man, has
I remember.
God defended.
I remember you were telling.
Yeah.
Are there moments that you've seen God defend you?
What? Yes, 100%.
Mhm.
You know, after being called everything that I was called in that meeting,
Mhm.
I was like, I'm never going to be nobody. Like, God's never going to look out for me again because, you know, I'm all these things. Like, I'm a disappointment to God. And it's what I told you. Like, I literally hit rock bottom and then God let it start raining. And I was like, oh, now I'm going to drown. Like, oh my God. But little did I know God was filling up this well again so that I could just climb right back out the top. Because God is so beautiful. Like, he is so romantic.
He is.
And in that rain, I was scared. I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to drown. Like, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
and little did I know that in that rain, in that water, he was cleansing me, making me new again. Like,
It's
just
beautiful.
truly loving on me again and taking me back to that first love.
Mm.
But, it's been such a beautiful process. But I've seen God because, for example, recently, I'm working on my master's right now. Let's go psych.
Queen energy.
And I was like, you know, for your master's, you no longer get financial aid. Like, you don't get help. This is on you,
Oh, I
babe.
remember you called me about this.
Yeah, I'm like, this is on you. And the reason why I had called Abby actually that day was because I had felt to bless Abby. And like, it was so random. Like, I was just like, okay. Like,
What?
cool. I was like, okay, cool, God. And so then literally, like, I was like, what, 3 days later?
Mm-hmm.
I get a call, you know, from my school, and they're like, hey, like, we got to start doing your schedule for the semester. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, here's my availability with work and da-da-da-da. Like, let's see what works.
Yeah.
And then, you know, she starts giving me how much I'm going to pay for this month. And though I get a lot of help because I have a lot of Pell Grants and like scholarships.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord for those.
We
Those are
love.
testimonies in itself. I still pay some out of pocket. So I was like, hey, like, I owe some from last semester. And I'm like, so is there any way we could do a payment plan for this semester and just add it on? She was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, like the stuff that I owe from last semester. And mind you, I had talked to my advisor like 5 days prior. And I knew that I had like $2,800 that I owed. And she was like, Daph, your balance is 0. And I was like, huh?
What?
And she was like, yeah. She's like, you don't owe anything. And I was like, no. I was like, Ceci, I called you. You told me. I was like, Ceci, you told me that I owe $2,800. She's like, yeah, I remember. She's like, but no. She's like, look, I'll send you a screenshot of what I'm looking at. And in her screenshot, it literally was like a Pell Grant had came in, like a random scholarship.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, she's scholarship covered it. She's like, you're good.
Look at God.
Like, what? And there is such reward in obedience.
Yes.
That is like, wow, you know? Because here I was thinking, man, like, church became my routine. Like, you know, Mondays we were at Tab. Tuesdays we had Institute. Wednesday, House of Peace. Thursday, when we had Thursday services. Friday, I was always at youth. Couldn't miss youth. Saturdays, you know, we had like the baptisms or any webcast thing. And then Sundays, I was there from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like, it became such a routine to me that to the point where I literally was going through this thing where I was like, oh my God, if I don't go back to church, I'm going to hell. And it was such a crazy thought. Like, I was like, I'm going to go to hell if I don't go to church. And that's so crazy.
Wow.
Like, that's how much of a routine this became to me.
Yeah. Because
Like,
it becomes your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I literally felt like that's it. Purpose gone. And it was so bad.
Wow.
Like, wow. Like, so bad. And haven't been back, but it still going to House of Peace and, you know, having my best friend Veronica with me the whole process. She literally has not let go of my hand this whole process. And just having her pray for me and advise me and just straight up girl talk with her. Like, just, she lets me tell her, like, you know, I'm so mad because of this. And she'll be like, okay, valid. But, valid. But, it just has made me, I don't know, man. Like, I really thought that I would need church to be able to heal. And although you do, because community is from God.
Yeah.
Your own
church.
Personal relationship with God is enough. Like, I literally had to be like,
For this season.
Yeah. Like, I was like, this has to be rooted in my relationship with God. Because I've been able to become one with God without any eyes around me. Without feeling like I need to be rushed to heal so that I can serve again and so that I'm good. And like, I've been like, okay, you know what? Like, step back, do your own thing, chill. Like, you need to heal yourself. So that's honestly one of the biggest reasons too why I've taken a step back. Like, I just wanted to do it on my terms. I didn't want to feel like anybody was telling me how I should be healing, what I should be doing. I really wanted to go with God and be like, okay, God, what's our next step? And although to some people it may feel like, dang, a whole year, I'm the best version of me I've become. And I'm so glad that I did take the year, because I really do feel like I became who God has always wanted me to be.
Yeah.
Do I have a lot of work left?
We all do.
Yeah, babe. We have a long way to go. But I love this version of me.
I love that.
I love who I've become. I love that even through all of this, I never lost my heart for people. I still love on people. I love people. I still get DMs of people asking me, like, man, pray for me, man. I'm going through this. And I'm like, man, like, here I was thinking I was robbed of all that. And
but you can still use it for purpose.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you found yourself in this process?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think that me being loud and out there, and clothes have to be on point, shoes have to be on point, makeup has to be on point, it was just like a mask. Because generally didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be. I just know that I wanted to be, I guess, known in a way. Popularity was so important to me. I don't know why. Like, it was never important to me in the world, but in church apparently it was. And I'm really glad that, like, I got over that. And got to know me for me. Not for what I wear, what I look like, how much I make, what's my title, how many disciples do I got. Like,
yeah.
I'm really, really glad that I got to meet me.
That's
just
beautiful.
Me for Daphne.
And you took this year to heal and to grow, and then now you can really be like, this is who she is.
Yeah.
This is what she likes. This is what she's majoring in. This is what, and then God is just blessing you. So I do have one more question, and I think we'll end with this because I think it's beautiful. Or if you want to add anything after this, but what is something you would tell past Daphne? Like advice that you would tell past her that was right out of the meeting, right out of the situation, heated, like, ugh,
I'm gonna cry.
You know, like, what would you tell her? a year from
I think, uh, honestly, I would just hug her. I would want to hug her so bad and like assure her that things were going to be okay and they were going to work out. Because walking out of there, I did not see a light at the end. I didn't. Like, I was like, dude, this is it. Like, and I would just want to like hug her and, you know, tell her that it was going to be okay. That we were going to be okay. We were going to, you know, make it out and it was going to be beautiful. And obviously at that time, you don't see it. You don't even want to believe it. Like, people are like, oh, it's just, you're going through another process. It's okay. And like, I just want to hold her. Honestly, like, I just want to hold her and let her know, like, you're going to be okay. God is not going to leave you. God is going to defend you, man. God is the best lawyer. God is the best lawyer, because keeping my mouth quiet was the best thing I could have done. Like, everything just kind of played for itself. And I would tell her that we were going to grow from this. That, believe it or not, this was going to be a testimony in itself. Like, God was going to use us to heal people. And I think that's so beautiful. And one of the reasons why I am grateful for my church hurt is it makes me relatable to people now. Like, I get it. And another thing I want to add, though, that I feel like is so important is when we say church hurt, I feel like that's such a like, the whole entire church, the whole entire building hurt you. And that's not what it is. Like, it's really people hurt. I wrote about this on one of my Instagram posts. You should go see it. And I literally was like, you're not church hurt, you're people hurt. Because the building did nothing to you. God did nothing to you. Apostle did nothing to me. Like, your people hurt. And I feel like that's so important to clarify, because I feel like that's a lot of reasons why people are like terrified of coming to church. Like,
or like coming back to church.
Or coming back. Like, they're like, oh, it's going to happen again. But
after they like fell or things happen.
And man, let me assure you, like, there are good leaders out there. There are people out there that genuinely care for God and they care for the people of God. Like, we're learning, but people are still going to fail you. People are going to hurt you. Like, if you go to church and you're like, well, I'm going to go to become the best disciple for so-and-so, you're going to get hurt, bro. Like, you need to go for God and truly just God. Nobody else but God. Like, you need to be Jesus freak. Like, just eyes on God. But yeah, I think that's what I would tell her.
Yeah. And anything you would tell, like, I don't want to say it, like, not the people that hurt you, but like, no, not that. I want to ask, what would you, because you'd be like, oh, well, I forgive you. No, just kidding. What would you tell people that left the church and they don't know how to come back? You know, based on your story, you're like, it's never gonna, like, it's not gonna get better, but then it has gone better, and now you have a set date of going back. What would you tell that person that doesn't have a date to come back, or like they're struggling, that they're like, man, should I go back? Is it even worth it? Like,
send me a DM.
Plug her right now.
At Life with Daph. But honestly, I get it. It's a scary, scary thought to come back to the place that hurt you the most, to the place that failed you the most. I understand why it can be terrifying, but I want you to know that things are getting better. We're learning. God is cleaning the church and making us new and really taking us back to the foundation. I feel like we've kind of gotten lost in image and we've kind of gotten lost in numbers, and I feel like God is finally like, okay, this is not what it's about. It's about relationship. And I haven't been back, but I'm still a little involved. You know, my friends are still there, so I know that we're getting better, and they assure me all the time, like, that things are changing. And
they are though.
They are changing, and that's a great thing. It's a great thing. So please come back for God, and come back and dude, like if you need to sit in the back by yourself behind the curtains, do it. If you need to go, but you don't want to go by yourself, hit me up. I will go with you. We'll go together.
Please.
And we'll sit together and, we'll experience God together.
I love that.
It's a process that I know it can feel really lonely, but please know that you're not alone. For me, for example, even though I knew a lot of people were going through church hurt, I didn't really know anybody's process. I just knew, they left because they got offended. Like, that's always the thing.
Yeah.
They left because they got offended. So I was like, what?
But not actually healing out loud, per se.
Yeah, and like I couldn't find anyone to be relatable with. Like I was searching so bad for someone to talk about it with, and like I didn't know a single person that had gone through it. So know that I have gone through it. I am proud that I have gone through it. And you can always count on me. I counted on Abby a lot for this stuff too. And
I was
just
here.
just know that we are here for you. We love you. Know that we are becoming the leaders that we needed.
Yeah.
We're learning, man. And we're truly, genuinely trying to be as much like Jesus as possible. To love on everybody. The broken, the unhealed, the hard to love, the ugly, the pretty, the everybody. I'm genuinely learning to love everybody because I don't ever want anyone to feel like they are not worthy enough to experience the love of God.
Yeah.
And that's so important. And like, just know you're not alone. Come back. We love you guys so much. And take your time, though. Don't let nobody rush you into anything. Take your time. Heal on your own. But truly forgive. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It's personal and it's beautiful and it hurts. But it's something that the moment you speak it, you see the shift. Like just poof, of like, okay, you know? So yeah.
And I think just surrendering, honestly, like I think that's a big thing, that when she was talking, I felt that there were a lot of people that were hurt, and whether it's by leadership or whether it's by people or or even co-disciples or even things that like Daphne didn't talk about or I talked about. I just want to tell you, like, the biggest thing that I would do is like, number one, run to God and like fall flat on your face and be very real and very open with him, whether it's in your car, whether it's in your room, whether it's there. Number two, find someone that that you can be accountable with, like a leader that you trust, or like a friend, a trusted friend that you can trust, like her was like Veronica or me, Number three, make a decision to forgive whoever it is that hurt you, because I think you're, like she said, don't rush it, but when you get to that point where you say, I forgive, I surrender, I let it go, you're gonna feel such a difference. You're gonna be like, wow, I did that. And like she said before, it was for her, like you're healing for you, because like that person is off doing God knows what, God knows where. They're not even thinking about you or me, and they're not even thinking about you guys, but it's
stressing.
they're not
okay.
even they're fine, but we're here like, oh my God, my mind, oh what was me, but like when you actually forgive that person, you're legit getting that baggage off of you, and you're getting that hurt off of you, because it's something that's weighing down on you, and I felt like many of you guys are holding on weights, or many of you guys are holding on things, and I just feel like God is lifting those burdens off of you right now, so I feel like God is healing. He's doing that. Forgive, surrender, and then whatever, like Daph said, whenever you feel like you're ready to come back, this house is your home. Like you can always come back home, and open wide, and like the house is open wide for you guys, and there's leaders there that are going to take care of you, and people that are going to take care of you, and like, and honestly, I think also another thing is like, be that world changer, be the difference, I realized in myself that I was never that type of leader to like reprimand or be like, bah, 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 bah. Like, yes, of course, like you have to correct and you have to do this stuff, but I was never the person to like intimidate or whatever. It was just, I was more loving, hence why like everybody was like, come my children, and it was just beautiful, you know. And once I realized my identity in that leadership, that I was like, oh, I lead different.
Yeah.
I lead like this. Or like even my mentor now, they're like, oh, how's your mental health? And I was like, whoa.
You care about that stuff?
I'm like, that's brand new information, ma'am, sir. But yeah, I recommend that. So we're here to encourage you guys that if you took anything out of this podcast, take that.
Yeah. And another thing that I feel like is so big and important is remember that God doesn't only manifest in our church. God manifests in other churches too. You know, God is everywhere. And if you feel like your season is over here, that's okay. Like, we're not in gangs. We could still be friends, you know? Like, we could still, you know, hang out. Like, Abby left us, and look at us.
Wow. Okay. I was like,
okay, I'm next.
Oh my God. We're like, I'll be like,
twist.
we're like, this is my announcement video. Hey, guys.
But, yeah, like, if you truly feel like, you know what, man, my season is over, and I feel like, you know, I'm moving on and I'm growing somewhere else, make the decision that's right for you. You know what works for you. You know, because of your relationship with God. You know, if you pray, and that's my first advice, you need to pray first. And God tells you, yo, you know what, Daphne, move, then by all means move. If there's one thing I've also learned through all
or
of
even
this,
if God says stay.
Yeah, even if God says stay. Trust it. I'm with you on this one. Trust it. Know that God has to have a plan. God is not a man that he shall lie. Like, there's a reason behind it. If God opens a door for you, you best believe God is gonna make something happen. Like, it has to. So just, you know, pray about it. I'm so big on that. Like, you don't need 1,000 confirmations from like everybody else. Like, no, pray about it. And if you have like one person that you trust with all your heart and be like, hey, like, this is what I'm feeling, can you help me pray? And if they feel the same thing, then by all means. But if God tells you something and your season is over somewhere, that's okay. That's okay.
Honestly, I think that's such good advice, because literally it's like, if God says to do it, you know, obviously make a plan and stuff, but
God told Abby to move to California, and I was like, no, he didn't. No.
Yeah.
But who am I, you know? Like, who am I to sit there and be like, well, Abby, I heard God say no, you know? She would have looked at me and been like, that's tough. But God told me yes.
I was like, God said yes like months ago. And then once I told her the process, and you guys know the process too, she was like, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. But yeah, man, like, process is hard and it's ugly and it's painful, but the outcome is beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like, you know, like when you break dirt to plant something, dirt starts to look ugly. Like, you have to break the earth. You gotta, you know, put water and water it every day, and it's such a pain. Like, oh, and what about if it gets hot? I still gotta go outside to water my plant. Yes. So it's painful, but it's beautiful and worth it. And honestly, man, like, I really wouldn't change a thing about my walk with God, from breakups to other things I've gone to this to like nothing. Like, it's something I'm proud of, believe it or not.
And you came out stronger because of it.
Yeah, so much stronger, and honestly, so much wiser. And in a way, which I look back and I'm like, that's so crazy. It made me more loving.
Wow.
It made me so much more empathetic, and I just like always want to hug people and like love on people, because I'm like, oh, you never know what people are going through.
Yeah. And it really softens your heart.
Yeah, it definitely to the point where I had a really big reality check and was like, what about if I'm doing this to people? And like, I went back to a bunch of people, like, I'm so sorry. And like, to the point, like, even you remember I sent you a message.
Yeah.
And you were like, you've never made me feel like that.
Yeah. I was like, you never made me feel like that. I love you. Like, don't worry. And she's like, I'm sorry. I was like,
I literally went on a rant and was like asking a bunch of people to forgive me, you know, because I was like, sometimes I'm the problem.
But that shows that you're really doing the work.
Yeah.
Shows you're doing the
Been
work.
hard work.
But I'm proud of you.
you.
God is doing something, and I'm excited for your next journey of
Me
what God
too.
has for you in the process. I think
Just kidding.
DMs are open. So where can they find you?
You could find me at life with Daph _. I think I have an underscore. If not, it'll be right here.
Yeah, I'll literally put it right there. On Instagram, you can follow her on Instagram, DM her, DM me, DM us at Finding Yourself Podcast, at Finding Yourself _podcast, and Appster7, 2R7. I almost forgot. And guys, thank you so much for 1,000
Thanks,
subscribers.
guys. Oh my God.
Like,
yes, congratulations.
we hit 1,000. I am shocked. I can't believe it. Like,
She is that girl.
I keep saying it, then I was like, I can't. It's only going up from here that people actually just want to sit with us and like listen to us. Like, people tell me, they're like, I listen to you guys when I do my homework.
The
I
one
listen
with
to you
Maddie
guys
was
when
my favorite.
Yeah.
I've watched the one with I watched it when you guys released it while I was doing my makeup, and like it didn't work out because I was crying. I was like, she's so right. Like,
Yeah.
she's so right. You guys spoke so much truth into that. It's
Wow.
awesome. So proud of you, Abs.
Of course, thank you. I love this. I love this because God put it in my heart to start this podcast, and He told me a year ago, but I didn't have my voice. I was like very insecure about myself. I wasn't really confident, and then now, like 2 years later, God was like, start it again, and I want to give like this platform, obviously, like for people to talk about things that like people don't talk about, but also like give myself a voice again. And I think it's just so beautiful. So I'm glad that you reached out to me and that we were able to record this. So right before I head to the airport,
Before the airport. That girl's
honestly,
a trooper.
everything will work out. But honestly, I'm excited because I needed this, and I'll do another episode about my Miami trip, but I definitely needed this trip to kind of just bring me back, refresh, and just go off and be like ready to start this new season of where I'm going now. And I think it's gonna be a beautiful thing, and we're always on a journey to finding ourselves,
It's
like
a journey that doesn't end. Finding yourself does not end.
yeah, girl, we'll probably be back a year from now and be like, look at where
Look
we're
at us.
at, like
Look at
at where
us.
we're at. And I'm excited for that. I'm
Me
excited to
too.
see the journey. I'm
Maybe
excited.
a year from now I'll be with you in LA.
Like, period. Okay. People are like cringe. They're like clicking off now.
Log off.
You're like, you're done. No, please subscribe.
Don't.
Subscribe, rate the podcast, give it 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And like and subscribe on YouTube. Comment down below your favorite part or something that Daphne said or something that I said that you're like, wow, that's amazing. Or even comment down below your stories of like things that you guys have gone through, and we can pray for each other in the comments. And yeah, so we love you guys.
My DM is always open.
Yes.
Always. It's always open. Don't worry about it. Anytime you need me, I am there.
She will be there. She will be. She's fast. Well, we love you guys. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Did it. Was that good?
That was great.